You're watching the Forefront Church video podcast, and wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. Facebook Live friends, I hope you're doing all right. Drop some comments and emojis. Let us know how you're doing. Everybody in here, 10 a.m., how we doing? We're doing good. You hear that sound, Facebook Live? That's the sound of people excited. You should join us in person on a Sunday. We know lots of people traveling, got stuff going on. And we're starting a brand new series called Friendology, where we're going to look at what does it mean to be a friend? Does God want us to have friends? Is that vital to a life that is fulfilled? And I already know out of the gate, there's some of you go, I'm not quite sure about this whole God thing, much less making friends with you people. Like, I get it. You may look and go, I'm into the whole God thing. I'm starting to truck there. But Jason, have you seen the people that come here? I go, yes, I have. We're a little bit weird, rambunctious, sometimes a little rowdy. People ask me, like, what kind of people come to Forefront? I'm like, people who are still angry, searching, not sure about God, people who are solidified in their faith and following Him, and everything in between. So I'm like, we're a ragtag bunch of individuals, a community coming together to celebrate the fact that each one of us has a second chance at life. And the only way that that happens is through God. And so as we explore that, one of the things we wanted to look at, especially heading into the fall, as we look at the landscape of adulthood, is we're not all that great at continuing making friends, keeping that stuff up. And I have a question to ask you. How many of you, and you can raise your hand here in a moment, show of hands, you remember a friend from childhood and you have fond memories of some fun moments as a kid? Yeah, so like almost everybody. Like for the most part, we have those friends that kind of do that. And for me, that was Joey Crawford. Joey Crawford lived across the street. He was the middle of three kids. He was a couple years older than me. He was much taller than me and definitely a little bit like stockier than I was. As a kid, I was just like lanky and tiny and I couldn't fight, but I had a mouth that didn't think about what I said. And so if you're a kid, having someone in your corner like a Joey is a good thing. And Joey lived across the street, and we would play and run around and ride bikes and do all the things that kids would do. But there was one day in particular that I remember vividly in my friendship with Joey. We were hanging out, and by hanging out, I mean I was grounded. And my parents said, you can stay in the yard, but you can't leave the yard, and nobody can come over. And so I'm like, all right, I'm grounded. I can't say. And if you're a kid, you always try to find the loophole. Anything your parents say, and I don't care if you're like, I'm the kid and I do everything right. If you were that, you just, I obey the rules, you're looking for a loophole. Why? Because you're a kid. And so my parents say, you're grounded, you can't leave the yard, and nobody can come over. So we weren't even allowed to even get on the phone, but it didn't matter because he lived right across the street. I'd be like, Joey! And he'd be like, hey, and he'd come to his side of the street, and I would come to my side of the street, and whether it was a Frisbee or a ball, we would play back and forth, and I gamed the system. And my mom saw it one day, and she went to go say something, and she didn't, because I know what went through her mind is that was smart, and walk right back in. See, Joey was my friend, and so we played this game, especially with a tennis ball, sometimes with a bigger ball, where we would try, and it was before a lot of neighborhoods were burying their power lines underneath, and we would throw the ball and try to make it over the power lines into the other person's yard. Sometimes we weren't real smart and we'd use a ball that wasn't necessarily soft. It would hit vehicles and cars and other things. And that's just part of the fun of being a kid back then. And so we would do that, bouncing it around. And on this day, a kid who we didn't know rides his bike down the sidewalk on my side of the street. And so I've gotten the ball and I'm bouncing, I'm getting ready to throw it. And he rides up, he's like, "What are y'all doing?" Like, "We're playing a game. I'm throwing over here, I'm throwing over there." He's like, "Can I play?" And I was one of those kids that, like, I don't want to tell you no, because, and even now, I want people to, like, and so I was like, well, we're playing this game, and I'm kind of grounded, but he's like, "Well, then why are you outside?" I was like, "Ask my mom." And so, and we're playing, it's like, "Well, we're just playing this game. You can keep on." And you can tell a personality type based on how you respond to someone that's forcing themselves into a situation. I was trying to tiptoe around, "Hey, I really don't want you to play, but I don't know how to say it." Joey from across the street goes, "We're playing a game, scram." And so he runs, "Scram, whippersnapper." That sounds like we're 100 years old. And so he yells at the kid, "Scram," and the kid's like, and he bucks up at this point. He's like, "I am going to play." And so I start to ignore it and throw the ball over to Joey. And Joey gets the ball and goes to throw it over to me. And this kid, he has been sitting on his bike, but then he dumps his bike down and stands up and grew 112 feet tall. And you're like, And he said, "Hey, I want to play." And you ever had a moment where you say something and then you're like, "I want all the words back in, and I wish I didn't do that"? This was one of those moments, because I'm little, I'm skinny, used to be, and so I'm little, and we're doing that, and I go, "Hey, I want to play, I'm going to play." And I'm like, "Who do you think you are?" Bad call, like horrible, horrible call, because "Who do you think you are?" And I look up at this kid, and he starts immediately, and this is how, girls, I don't know how it works with y'all, the pulling hair and whatever it is. With guys, they immediately are like, "It's go time." And he flexes out his chest. And I'm standing here, the road's here, Joey's over there, and this kid has dumped his bike and he's bucking up on me out of nowhere. It was like Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, comes rushing in, and Joey is bigger than this kid. And he just comes up and bumps him and knocks the kid backwards as he's doing it, because he steps in front of me and this kid. He said, "I don't think you want to do that, do you?" He breathes in every bit of him to get it bigger, and he's like, and gets on his bike, and this kid goes riding off as quick as can be. And then I wanted to high five Joey, but I wasn't sure if my mom was watching. I'm like, "Not supposed to have friends over." I'm like, "Hey." And he runs the other side, and that's how our relationship went all the time. See, Joey was always there to stand up for me, whether it was in the joyous times, whether it was in the difficult times, whether in the middle of a game, at school, you name it. We were thick as thieves. And we all want that kind of relationship. The reason that I know that is because I talk to so many people, and have over the last couple decades in ministry, who go, "I'm alone. I want a friend. I feel like nobody cares. I wish that they would. Feeling down, I'm feeling depressed, feeling left out." All it takes is a quick search to find out that some of the top trends when it comes to asking questions, especially about friendship, adults asking, "How do I make adult friends?" How many of you believe it's harder to make adult friends than making kid friends? Yeah, you make a kid. I watch my kids, and they run up on the playground, and they're like, "Hey, want to play?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, "We're friends." That's it. That's how you make friends when you're a kid. Imagine that same scenario playing out. You walk into a store, you open up the door, and someone's just looking through a rack, and you walk in, "Hey, you're looking at clothes. I like those clothes. Want to be my friend?" They're going to call the police. They're going to be like, "What have you taken? Are you okay?" But they're not going to ask you, because they're busy going, "Please come and get this person. They're freaking me out." See, being an adult and making friends is so, so difficult. Not because it's difficult, but because we make it that way. One of the top trends, how do I make adult friends? Do I even need friends? The third search with friends, and I can tell you that this is a bad idea, friends with benefits. It's going to be a no, okay? If you're wondering, no. It's a hard no. Is friendship, and the fourth one after that is friends reunion show, question mark. And then the fifth trending topic on friends, it's interesting, is friendship made by God? Is friendship something that God wants for me? Does God really care about my loneliness? These are some of the things, if you start peeling back the layers, that people are asking. And it's genuine because we've been hurt. We love those around us, but people make mistakes. People don't always do the right thing. And so we then get wounded and we go, can I trust anybody? And I want to let you know, if you've ever been wounded or you've been the one that has wounded others, we are all in the same boat. We could march up person after person who could stand here, myself included, who have wounded people and have been wounded. And so trusting people is difficult. And so being an adult who then opens up the door, yeah, I had friends like Joey, but I also had friends who, when I went away to college, broke into my car and stole my stereo equipment because they're real good friends. And so how do you balance caring for people and opening up the door to trust them? Because what we find, when a poll was done of 20,000 people of different demographics across the United States, that 46% always or sometimes feel lonely. And it had no correlation to whether you had social media account at all or you had 5,000 people connected to you on social media. It didn't matter. Loneliness was a prevalent factor in almost half of the individuals that were polled. Of those people, only 48% say they have meaningful in-person connection on a regular basis. A conversation with a friend, time with a family member or a loved one. And I think the reason for this weird dichotomy of I know I need friendship, but I'm also terrified, is this fear of opening up to God, opening up to other people, as we noted in the very beginning, opening up around a crew of individuals who say they love Jesus and want to connect in those ways. God, I'm not quite sure I'm ready for that or to do that. And we build up these walls because we're afraid. We're terrified of opening up, but God designed us for unique and beautiful connection. Now, I know the pushback on this for some of you is, well, I'm married. I married my best friend. I don't need anybody else. Wrong. Because I can tell you right now, after being married almost 15 years, some of you have been married longer, and you could totally affirm this, there's going to be times where they wanted to speak some truth into your life. They just really wanted to sleep in the same bed that night. And so you're going to have people who go like, for the greater good, I'm just going to let that go. And then that builds up, and then you get in fights, and you do all that stuff. I'm sure none of you ever fight. It's only my marriage has moments of that. You're all perfect, and you're just like, hey, would you like some dinner? Hey, I went to work today. I'm going to play with the kids for 4 hours. You just take a nap. Like there's moments where this builds up. And so if you're in a marriage and you're like, I don't need other friendships, it is toxic to believe that you can do this on your own simply with a spouse. Because time and time again, I have these counseling sessions with people, and they begin to open up, and they go, I don't need to talk. And the reason that we don't open up is because we're scared of opening up our life, because we have to be honest. We're scared of letting anybody in because they're going to see the mess. And then we're scared if they see the mess that they might tell us to what? Change, to adjust it, to move it, to be different. Brene Brown, who's a phenomenal writer and professor, she put it this way in her book, Braving the Wilderness. True belonging has no bunkers, like no hiding places in that. We have to step out from behind the barricades of self-preservation and brave the wild. To just be out, for some of you right now, just that sentence alone, you're like, no, I don't want any more people. I've been with enough people and they exhaust me. I know you're terrified, but you can't hide behind the moments that you were hurt and say, because I was hurt, all people are that way. It's a defeatist attitude. Because one person wounded me, all people wounded me. I need to let you know, you will get hurt. But that mentality will roll and eventually crush on itself. Well, I'm not going to work out because I saw somebody work out and then they didn't lose any weight, and so I'm not going to work out. And well, I was going to move to this neighborhood, but then their family fell apart, so I'm just going to. Before too long, you're going to find yourself in a cabin in the woods alone with nobody, not even a dog. You'd be like, well, dogs eventually die, so I'm not going to be a dog. Like, you're just going to be alone. It's intellectually dishonest to say one person hurt, and so I'm going to shut down. It's not okay. We have to be able to brave it. She continues on. You see, living with loneliness, hear me out with this, increases your odds of dying early by 45%. That's why older couples, when you watch a spouse pass away, that within weeks, sometimes months, you watch the other spouse, the surviving spouse, end up passing away, even if they didn't necessarily have health issues. Because one of the biggest factors in this existence is to be known. And so never underestimate the power of being seen. We have to find our way back to one another, or what? Fear wins. Our fear wins out. And so how do we combat this? We're going to have a stair step. Every week we have a main idea, but this week we're going to kind of build on it as we look for, all right, we're going to study the science of friendship when it comes to what God desires for us. How does that begin? Well, the first part is this. It's time to move from barriers to belonging. And it's the moment that you read that, you immediately go, here are my barriers, here's my checklist. You're the gatekeeper of your interaction in your heart. And so you immediately have stacked the chips against people and go, all right, well, you like, the Redskins, so you're out. You like fishing, you're out. You do whatever, you like kids, you're definitely out. Like, you parse through and immediately, you're extroverted, you're done. Like, you're introverted, I'll like you, but from afar, but I'm not going to tell you because we're introverted together. We have these moments where we check that, and it's time to break down those barriers. And we can say, all right, I want to have a connection of belonging. St. Augustine put it this way. He said, what is a friend? It's a single soul dwelling in two bodies. That there's such an intimate connection between friendship. And for guys, they hear that kind of quote and they go, nope, I'm checking out. I'm not doing that. I'm not having any friendships like that. I can tell you this, that while we are all uniquely amazing, because we're created in the image of God, you were designed to live life with others. And we see this example in the passage we're going to look at today with two individuals, Jonathan and David. If you have a Bible, I'd love for you to turn over to 1 Samuel chapter 18. That's where we're going to be. And if you don't have a Bible, you can get one in the lobby after service. Those of you guys online, and if you're more digitally inclined, you can go to our .info page and follow along in the notes section each and every week. And in this, we see two guys who couldn't have come from more different circumstances. One is the son of a king. The other is a just kind of lowly farmhand who grew up with multiple siblings, just kind of walking through life, kind of going, I don't know if things are going to work out or if they're not, but we're just kind of existing. And their paths collide, and it's amazing what takes place. And it's over in 1 Samuel 18. It's going to be starting in verse 1. If you don't have a Bible, it'll be here on the screens. It says, after David had finished talking with Saul, the king, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. Now, I want to pause there, especially, it is no problem. I even hear my daughters say this to their friends. You're going to be like, oh, I love you, love you, love you. Or you hear guys, but later, man. Like, you don't immediately, even like you'll see girls and women, they're like hugging, and guys are like, solidarity, man. Like, there's something about this whole, like, if I'm going to be manly, I cannot show emotion. If I'm going to be manly, then there's no way that I can show feeling and connection with somebody else. I can tell you this. I understand what you are saying. Grew up in military family, dad, retired Master Chief. All right, lock and step. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Little soldiers line up. We're going to go. Get in the van. Go, 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 go. Like a whole thing. And when I got older, I thought, well, you don't cry. I only watched my dad cry twice. Whole childhood, even to this day. There was something about opening up the door for emotion that changed my life forever. Because it was okay. Because it's all right to feel. It's okay to process that. And it's even more amazing to process that with someone who cares about you. And this is the type of bond that Jonathan and David are beginning to have. We're going to continue on. Verse 2 says, from that day, Saul kept David with him because he was going to kind of raise him up, was fond of him, wanted to give him some more responsibility and power. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as himself. Listen, man, I care about you. You care about me. This is a brotherhood, a bond. This is something that isn't just going to go away. And so here's where it gets weird. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking his robe off and giving it to David, together with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. This is where most of the guys in the room go, no, not going to do that. Like, I don't want to walk into the lobby and you meet your new friend and you're like, all right, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and do that. Like, if we start seeing Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley type stuff happen in the lobby, it's going to get weird, okay? And so let's unpack this a bit. You have Jonathan, who is the king's son, and you have David, who comes from very humble beginnings. And David is basically dressed essentially in rags. But Jonathan sees that they have this bond, they're beginning this friendship. And it was a complete honor for him to say, I know that you're getting appointed. My dad is raising you up. He sees something in you, and there's no way that you can go into that position the way that you are now, but I care enough about you that I'm going to give you the very clothes off my back so that people can see you and know that not only, and people would have known, the garments that he was wearing were given to him by the king's son. So listen, I don't care, even if it means me basically in my draws and you going out and doing what you need to do, then it is worth it because I care about you. So it's not about me. In that very moment, he's breaking down these barriers, saying, you belong. I don't want you to go out there and to fall on your face and be mocked and be hurt. I want you to succeed. Even if that means that I lose all dignity, I can go find new clothes. That's no problem. I'm the king's son. I have plenty. But I know that you need this, and so here, let me give this to you. And as we build on this, we see this from their example. It's a time to move from barriers to belonging, and that begins by putting them before you, putting others before yourself. And I call this the Cameron Fry principle. How many of you guys know who Cameron Fry is? Anybody yell it out? He is from what? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you don't know that name, get with it. We'll pray for you. And Cameron Fry is Ferris Bueller's best friend. Best friend. They are just amazing together. But Ferris has this idea in the movie. They get together. Cameron, we need your dad's car. We're going to run. We're going to have a day. I mean, it's a day. I would love to experience a day like they had. It was unbelievable. But one of the things that Cameron doesn't do to Ferris is out of the gate, sometimes he'd say no out of fear, but he always ends up saying yes. Because Ferris had a way of letting him know, hey, we want to do this. It's going to be great. You need to come along. I don't know, Ferris, my dad, my this, my that. Oh, total Eeyore syndrome Cameron has. But all the while, he wanted Ferris to succeed. He wanted Ferris to know, I care about you. And so every phase along it, he decided, even if dad gets mad, I'm going to make sure that you do that. You know what? Even if dad gets mad, we're going to skip school. Even if dad gets upset, we are going to go and have this day, and you can have the car, and we can go to the ball game. You're going to end up in the parade. That scene was so weird. Like all of these things, I'm going to put my comfort to the side because I care about you more. This is the very thing that we see Jonathan doing. Unfortunately, it's the opposite of what we see in most friendships. Even in most, if you're a believer, if you follow Jesus, your goal is to say, I care more about your wants and your desires than myself. And even when I fall short, I want you to forgive me because I'm sorry. And I'm going to keep on making sure that you know that this life isn't about me, it's about you. It's about your desires, your goals, your dreams. And I will concede to see you shine. And part of the process of that, it takes it a step further. Not only is it putting them before you, it's also affirming their worth, letting them know how great they are, letting them know that they matter. You see, Jonathan, in this act of telling David, I care about you, you and I have a bond, take my own outfit, I want you to succeed, your interest before mine, but you are amazing, you are valuable. It's the very thing God does through Jesus. It's the very thing we are to do in friendships. And I call this the Tommy Callahan principle. Tommy Callahan is from the movie what? Tommy Boy. Somebody was like, yay, Tommy Boy. All right. Tommy Boy is one of those movies. Absolutely love it. Him and David Spade, phenomenal together and laugh. It's funny. It's really, really funny. And their interaction, I mean, Tommy is he's a few fries short of Happy Meal, okay? He doesn't get social cues. He's not always on the ball, if we put it that way. And eventually, his dad owns this company. His dad passes away. Get this early on in the movie. Sorry, spoiler alert. I think the time has passed. And so his dad passes away. And he is now left in charge of the company. And everybody's like, great, Tommy Boy, like he ain't gonna do nothing. And so he goes out on the road with David Spade, drumming up business, trying to do that, and failing horribly all along the way. I mean, David Spade's character is just like snarky and whatever, kind of like David Spade in real life, like all just like mean and whatever. And they're going on and on and on through the whole thing. And it gets to later on in the movie, he said, why do you keep doing this? You're failing. You do this, you fail. You do this, you fail. And finally, and I love this, the way it unfolds in comedies, is you kind of have this moment that you've been laughing at the whole time, and it gets turned on you. And in that moment that David Spade's character asks Chris Farley's character, Tommy Boy, hey, why are you doing this? Why don't you just give up? He goes, because back home, there's a bunch of guys who trusted my dad. And now dad's gone. And so they're counting on me. And I could just give up. I could just sell the company. I could do a lot of things, but those people matter. And me being out on the road is showing them that they matter, that they have worth, that they have value. And they're watching this unfold. And for a moment, you see the humanity in David Spade's character where he's like, oh. The whole time he's been criticizing him. And Tommy goes, I do this because those people back at the factory matter. And I want them to know how much they're worth to me and to the company. You see, we want friendships like that sacrifice their dignity, that sacrifice any type of boundaries to say you matter. And it's what Jonathan and David were doing. Take a look at this. A couple chapters over is Jonathan and them are interacting because Jonathan's dad, Saul, is really angry with his friend David. Like he's like, I don't want to have anything to do with him. He's absolutely awful. He is rising in popularity. And as a king who wants power, you don't like that from somebody rising up. And so he wants to end David. And Jonathan and David have this conversation. And it unfolds like this. It says, then Jonathan told David, I promise by the Lord, the God of Israel, that by this time tomorrow or the next day at the latest, I will talk to my father and let you know at once how he feels about you. If he speaks favorably about you, I will let you know. But if he is angry and wants you killed, may the Lord strike me and even kill me if I don't warn you so you can escape and live. May the Lord be with you. This is huge. As he used to be with my father. You see, Jonathan and David are having this conversation. And he's letting him know, listen, my dad is surely going to persecute me for this friendship we have. My dad may even kill me for the fact that I have befriended you and helped you. But you know what? None of it matters if I don't stand at my word and say, I care deeply about you, even if it means that I would go through persecution, even if it means that I would get in trouble, even if it means that I would fall or maybe even fail. David, if you can go on to do great things, Jonathan says, listen, it is not about my goals and my desires and my thing. You go and you do it and you be amazing. What he's teaching him in this moment, he said, you know what? I'm putting you before me. It's not about me. And by that, I want you to know how much you're worth. But in this moment, he tells him, I want to fight for your future. I want to make sure that you succeed, even if that means that I fail or I get hurt. And we want friendships like that. It's why I meet a lot of spec ops guys in the military. And when I get a chance to talk with them, that brotherhood, that bond that they have is absolutely unreal. It's something that you and I on a daily basis can learn from, but especially people of faith. that if you're going to fall, if you're going to make mistakes, and I heard this from my dad after years of being in the military, that when someone is failing, that I'm going to pick them up. I'm not going to shame them. I'm not going to throw insults at them. I am going to care for you because when you do well, we all do well. And yet the church gets together, people get together in general, and we tear each other down. We hurt one another. We assume the worst instead of believing the best. And God forbid, we launch someone else into a greater future, even if that means that we don't get there with them. How amazing would it be if you and I were to say, you know what? This life isn't about me. And the people that I come into contact with and the friendships that I have, I want to make sure that they do well, even if I don't make it there with them. Because when they do amazing things, then God's honored and our friendship is honored. So I have friends, man, I love watching them succeed. Because it's not success and movement, all these things. It's not like a pie, like the moment that they succeed, oh, I can't do anything. Like we all get an opportunity to watch beautiful things happen. And so why aren't we cheering one another on? Saying, I want to fight for your future. I want to see you do well. I want to see you succeed in all of this. Which is why this movement of friendship is so huge. Because you and I have an opportunity to break down those barriers, to move past that to a moment of belonging. And deep down, whether you're resistant of it, maybe you would say, I'm a full-on curmudgeon with this. I don't want to deal with people. I don't like people, whatever. You can say that all day long, but you want to belong. I watch it with people all the time. I don't want to be a part of church. And then they go root for their team. And they say, we're going to win this week. We? You're not playing anything. You're wearing a jersey and watching. Why do we use the verbiage we? I think it's awesome to a degree. Why? Because we want to be a part of something. It's why we love the jobs that we have for some of this. It's why we love the communities that we're in. We love some of the neighbors that we have. We love the schools that we're in. We love that. Can be why? Because we want to belong. We want to feel a part of something bigger than ourselves. And that starts with these friendships, putting other people before yourself, letting them know their worth in God, and fighting for them in their future, even if it doesn't benefit you. Because this existence is more than us just simply being. It's saying, I care about individuals because they're made in the image of God, and if they matter to God, they matter to me. When you open up your life in that way, I'm going to promise you, you'll have moments where you get hurt. You'll have moments where it doesn't go perfectly. But there's some friendships that I have now that will stand the test of time because they love me, they speak hope into my life, and I try my best to do that for them. And when you have friendships like that, you will stop at nothing to help them and guide them and to care for them into their future. And you can experience that too, but that choice, I can't make that for you. That choice is yours. So what will you choose? Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.